Philippines. Alright, history lovers, let's dive into the story of the Philippines, a country with a past as wild and dynamic as its 7,641 islands. This place has seen it all: ancient kingdoms, colonial rule, revolutions, world wars, and some of the most resilient people on the planet. If you think you know the Philippines just for its beaches and mangoes, buckle up, because this is a story of power, resistance, and an unbreakable spirit. Before their colonizers, a land of warriors and trade. Long before Europeans came knocking, the Philippines was already thriving. Indigenous groups, powerful chieftains called datas, and skilled warriors ruled over various islands. The people had trade networks with China, India, and the Middle East, exchanging goods like spices, pearls, and gold. The archipelago was a melting pot of cultures, with influences from Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam shaping early societies. One of the most powerful pre-colonial states was the Sultanate of Sulu, which controlled trade and territory in the southern islands. Meanwhile, the northern tribes had their own systems of governance, with warriors like the Igorites fiercely defending their lands in the mountains. But everything was about to change when an explorer named Ferdinand Magellan showed up in 1521. Spain takes over 333 years of colonization. Magellan, a Portuguese explorer sailing for Spain, arrived in the Philippines thinking he could claim the islands for the Spanish crown. But he made a huge mistake. He underestimated a local ruler named Lapu. In the famous Battle of Mactan, Lapu-Lapu and his warriors took down Magellan, making him the first European to be killed in the Philippines. Despite Magellan's failure, Spain didn't give up. In 18 Miguel de Legazpi successfully colonized the islands, marking the start of 333 years of Spanish rule. The Spanish established Manila as their capital and introduced Christianity, making the Philippines the only predominantly Catholic country in Asia. The Spanish era wasn't all church bells and festivals, though. The colonizers forced Filipinos to work under the encomienda system, where local chiefs had to collect tribute from their people. Indigenous names and traditions were replaced with Spanish ones, and resistance was brutally crushed. But Filipinos didn't just sit back, they fought. The Philippine Revolution, a nation rises. After centuries of oppression, Filipinos had had enough. Inspired by global revolutions and driven by national heroes like Rizal, the movement for independence took off in the late 1800s. Rizal, an intellectual and writer, exposed Spanish abuses through his novels, No Lie Me, Tangerine Latin for Touch Me Not, and El Filibusterismo, Castilian, for Reign of Greed. The Spanish executed him in 1896, but his death only fueled the revolution. Enter Andrés Bonifacio, the founder of the Katipunan, a secret society that launched an all-out rebellion against Spain. Battles erupted across the islands, and soon, Emilio Aguinaldo emerged as a key leader, eventually declaring Philippine independence on June 12, 1898. Sounds like the perfect ending, right? Well, not so fast, because that's when the United States stepped in. The Americans and World War II. Right as Spain was about to lose the Philippines, the Spanish-American War broke out in 1898. Spain lost, and in a shocking twist, they sold the Philippines to the U.S. for $20 million under the Treaty of Paris. Filipinos, who had just fought for their freedom, weren't having it. The Philippine-American War, 1899 to 1902, followed, and it was brutal. The U.S. used scorched earth tactics, burned villages, and killed tens of thousands of Filipinos. Eventually, the Americans took control, but they did introduce some modern reforms: public schools, infrastructure, and a government system that would shape the Philippines for years to come. Then came World War II, and another colonizer stepped in: the Japanese. From 1941 to 1945, the Philippines was under harsh Japanese occupation. The resistance movement, led by Filipino guerrillas and supported by American forces, fought back. Finally, in 1945, after the Battle of Manila, Japan surrendered, and the Philippines was free once again. Independence at last. The modern Philippines. On July 4, 1946, the Philippines finally became an independent nation. Since then, the country has seen major political changes, economic struggles, and natural disasters. But through it all, Filipinos have remained some of the most resilient and determined people on the planet. From the People Power Revolution of 1986, where millions of Filipinos overthrew a dictatorship, to the country's booming call center industry and deep-rooted love for basketball and karaoke, the Philippines continues to evolve while holding on to its rich history and traditions. Fun fact, the Philippines is home to the world's oldest Chinatown Binondo, established in 1594. It's a testament to the country's long history of cultural blending. So next time you think of the Philippines, don't just picture beaches and tropical islands. Remember its history of warriors, revolutionaries, and survivors who fought for their land and identity. This is a country that has been through it all, and it's still standing tall.